a drifting ship. I took a look inside. I found a note that someone wrote that said, take her for a ride. I set a course for sights unseen, went out to open sea. To my surprise, a bunch of sailors joined along with me. Now we're sailing on the mystery ship. All you gotta do is join our trip. There isn't any cost of membership. All the sailors here are really hip. I'm the captain of the mystery ship, and I'm a-calling all aboard our trip. I'm really hoping that you'll enjoy it up on the mystery ship. So bring a friend and come along with us aboard the mystery ship. Whoopsie, somebody wasn't ready. Somebody was nowhere near ready. Son of a gun. I don't even have my, what's going on here? What's going on with the camera and the headroom and the, we can't even see Duska. Where's Duska? Duska on the Luska. All right. Oi. That's all I can say is oi. How are you doing, sailors? It is wonderful. Wonderful to have you all aboard the mystery ship this Sunday night. Thank you to everyone hanging out. Look at this. We've got 3 beer men raiding my channel. We have Coffee Talk with Sandra raiding my channel. Their timing is impeccable. And I would like to thank both of those entities, all 4 people involved, actually 5 people involved. The Hawk, Cosmac, Hang 10, the Batman, and Coffee Talk with Sandra. Thank all of you for your sending your folks my way. Sending your folks my way. Wonderful to have you aboard. I'm going to take a quick peek around the horn just to do what I always do. Make sure everything is up and running as it should be. As you know, I've been having some computer problems lately, and I'm hoping that they have been abated at this point. We are live at Pilled. There is a wonderful audience showing up there. We'll come back and say our hellos momentarily. Let's have a look at YouTube. Yes, we are live at YouTube, and there's wonderful people showing up there. Norma, G-Gab, how you doing over there? Thank you for joining us aboard the mystery ship. Good to have you along. Let's see how we're doing at Rumble. Rumble has rumblers. There are people rumbling. Whoever you people are, God bless you. Thank you for being here. I'm very happy to look up and see your smiling faces. Beautiful. How about over in Twitch? Are people twitching that itch tonight? Because they do. I know they do. I will always say this. Twitch has the most badass picture. It's bigger than Rumble's, and it's nice. I like it. Fred Cares, all the way from Alabama. She says, I must say hello. I can't stay. Love you, sailors and Zoso. Fred, I really, Little Freddie, I know you're a little lady. I really hope we get to meet up this next time I cruise through Alabama. I did ride through Alabama from stem to stern last year and was just amazed at what a beautiful state it is. I have to say this. It's one of my favorite states to visit. So you're on the list, lady. You're on the list. Good to see you. Thank you for dropping in and saying hello. Over here in Lemonland, look at this. Great sailors. We've got a beautiful picture. All kinds of fun stuff going on. The people are, yeah, they're among my favorite friends. Just had to swim to catch the ship. Dandy was a little late. We threw him a dinghy, and he rode it on over, and Duska helped him aboard. Good to see you, Dandy. Let's see who else is hanging out in Lemonland. Artist61, wonderful to see you, Steph. How are you doing? Peggy Dancer is with us. Bad Zoot in the house. Oh, I have repositioned my camera, so I need to be aware of that. I need to be continuously aware of that. Val Kimber, talking about an Alabamian. He's from Alabama. He polishes alabaster in Alabama. No, I don't know that. But if you don't treat him kindly, he will put pineapples at the foot of your bed, and you know what that means in the South. GTFO, baby. GTFO. Mad Pogue in the house saying his hellos. Spudley is in there. Classic Movie Theater just donated an ice cream. Thank you for being here, Classic Movie Theater. We got a bunch of new people. Where am I at now over here? 1,900 followers. That is phenomenal for this little teeny tiny show. I love it. I love it. That just makes my day. Jayla17, for goodness sakes, does it get any better than this? Thank you, all you wonderful folks, for hanging out. Great to see you. Do appreciate you being there. I haven't seen anybody twitching that itch yet, but it doesn't mean that they won't. I did get a couple of whispers. You know how there's, on each platform, you've got, Foxhole DMs, and in YouTube chat, you can leave notes and talk to people. Well, in Twitch, they have a thing called whispers. And in the address bar up top is a little place where you can send a private message to someone. And, well, I've gotten some interesting whispers lately. Interesting. I would say these are careless whispers myself, which always makes me think of Belushi. Speaking of Belushi, let's get over to pilled.net and see what's going on over there, because we've got all kinds of great folks hanging out there. First of all, I'm seeing my dear sister, Coffee Talk with Sandra, a dear friend and a wonderful co-conspirator. I love working with this woman. It's been just nothing short of phenomenal working and getting to know her. And, I've still haven't had a chance to join her on her show, but one day I will. One day I will. I know it. PWG is in the house, fresh off her cameo of last night's Foxhole Squares. We're going to get to that. Zoom in the house. My dear brother, M1911 Zoom. Always good to see you, buddy. Maddie's mom is with us. Folks, I want you to say some prayers for this girl. Keep Maddie's mom in your prayers, would you? Special prayers just for Maddie's mom. Rainoff is not only in the house, he's bringing the love. Spilling cookies all over the floor. Thank you kindly, Rainoff. That means a lot, my man. Uncle Krusty, my dear rock and roll brother. What is that? The Tin Man? No. I love these. There are so many great new stickers at Pilled Foxhole. You just can't keep up with them. You cannot freaking keep up with them. Bender to no one. What are you doing? I love that. Oh, I love this. What a family we have. Prairie Fire in the house. A double raid. Wow, man. It's a double rainbow. I've never seen a double rainbow. I don't know if you guys remember that YouTube video from 15 years ago, but by God, it make me wet my pants. It was so funny. Sheriff Hector is with us. 3 beer men are with a cosmic grandpa in the house. Ghost Pepper. Ghost Pepper. Very good to see you. Coffee Talk with Sandra. I mentioned her. I just don't want to miss anybody. Albina, 842. Yay, yay. Ahoy, my friend. Ahoy to you. All right, we've got a wonderful group of sailors all aboard the mystery ship right now. Right now. Yeah. Oh, now, why did you cut yourself out of the picture, Prairie? I mean, I know that by enlarging the photo, you show how pretty those 2 ladies are, but for crying out loud, that was a great, man. Say what you talking about. Say what you talking about, Willis. That's right. Bruce Q. Wayne in the house, fresh off of his cameo last night. Let's, shall we? Let's discuss. No. First, I want to tell you what I did today. So, how many of you are mechanically inclined? Like when something goes wrong around the house, do you throw up your hands and grab a handful of telephone and call a handyman or a plumber, or do you try and tackle it yourself? Now, with the advent, of course, of all the YouTube videos and all that, you can type in things like, what do I do? What do I do if my hot water heater stops making hot water? Well, over the course of the past week, keep in mind, right now I am working an hour from here. Okay, so up at 4 a.m., try to enjoy a little coffee, try to get a little reading in my Bible in. Not always successful, but I try. At least a couple of minutes of relaxing videos in the morning, rewatching the things that I fell asleep watching the night before. And then I'm dressed and I'm out the door by 5:45. 5:45, if I'm not taillights down out the driveway, I won't make it to work on time. So I can't, by the time I get home, I roll in about 5:30, 6 o'clock, which is every bit of 12 hours from the time I drove out the door. So for me to come home and try to attack a honeydew, it's not really happening. Because by the time I get home and I assess the situation, I turn around and get back in my car and drive down to, thank God I have a Home Depot across the street, other side of the freeway. But all of us have got to become more self-sufficient. Earlier last week, my sister-in-law said to me, she goes, did you fiddle with the temperature on the hot water heater? No. Why would I do that? I mean, to even get to it, you got to unscrew the covers and, do some monkeying just to stick a screwdriver in there and change the. Why would I do that? If it ain't broke, don't fix it, right? Anyway, she says, well, the water coming out of the tap at my sink is burning hot. She goes, I turn it on and it's steaming. And I said, well, it beats the shit out of waiting for 4 minutes for the hot water to make its way, since we don't have a recirculating pump on our house, like some newer modern houses have, where you have instant hot water anytime you want. We got to wait, like at the kitchen sink. At the kitchen sink, we got to wait 4 freaking minutes. Just let the cold water run for 4 minutes before we even get close to having hot water. I am considering putting a recirc pump in there. But she says, did you mess with the hot? I don't know. No, I did not. It wasn't 3 days later. Mrs. Zoe said, no, I told you. I told this one, right? She's standing in her towel ready to take a shower, and we don't have any hot water. I'm like, okay. I'll go look. It could be a breaker, it could be this and that. I said, but, no matter what it is, you're not going to have hot water this morning. Even if I fix it right now, it'll be 2 hours before you have hot water. So I went out and I checked the breaker first, and it's a 2-pole breaker, right? One of the double poles had tripped. So I reset it thinking, okay, that's it. We should be good. Both legs are hot. I get home that night, and the first thing I heard was, we still don't have any hot water. So now I go out and I bust out my tools. And I take the covers off and I look, and son of a bitch, in there, right above the elements, there are two elements, a high and a low, in a hot water heater with wires going to them. And there's a little temperature adjustment screw right there. And right above that is a teeny tiny little red dot about this big. That is your reset button. And I took a screwdriver and I poked it in, and the minute I pushed reset, I could hear the water boiling. I could hear the water. So I came in the house and said, okay, ladies, hot water is cooking. You'll probably have hot water before you go to sleep tonight, but I guarantee you there will be warm showers in the morning. So everything was good. Son of a gun, 2 days later, no hot water. Earlier this afternoon, no hot water. So, I've gone out and continually reset the damn. So I finally went out today and said, screw it. I'm going to drain this son of a bitch, and I'm going to find out what's going on with it. So I emptied the entire hot water tank. And I pulled out the top element. And I don't know if you can see this or not, but it is, we have a well. So you see all of the... and this is clean. I beat on this for a while. This thing was just coagulated with sponge like this. Can you see those crusty crystals right there? Yeah, this thing was covered. It looked like one big white, like you dipped it in toothpaste or something. It was crazy. So then I get to the second element in the bottom. Now this one was furked. Look at this one. We got it. It used to be straight. It used to come out like this. It is now warped and bent and burnt, and in two places, the wires are coming out of the element. Look how it's split all the way down this side. So I went down to the local plumbing store, and for $56, I bought two new elements, and I put them in. And I managed to shock the living daylights out of myself while doing it. An old construction worker like myself, takes too long to walk over to the breaker and turn off the poles. Just do it live, baby. Do it live. Like, who is the Fox announcer, Bill O'Reilly? Fuck it, we're doing it live. Yeah, fuck it, we're doing it live, and I shocked the daylights out of myself. But then I turned off the breaker, and everything went smooth. And I do expect we'll have hot water, but one thing I could see is that the inside of our water heater is just crusted. So, we're babying it along for... I put that hot water in here right when I moved in this house about 6-7 years ago. I'll tell you what, when you have a well and, you got hard water, I was telling my sister-in-law today, maybe we should try and, before we get a new water heater, it's only a matter of time. If we might get another 2 years out of this thing. But before we put the next water heater in, we've got to put a filter on the inside of that thing, just to try to get some of the minerals and crap out of it. Of course, then again, one would have to remember to change the filter, wouldn't they? What are the odds of that happening? Anyway, I'm a hero. We will have hot water. And I did not have to call a plumber. And what cost me $56 in about 20 minutes it took longer to drain the water out of the thing than it did to change out the two elements. Piece of cake. If I had called a plumber on a Sunday to come fix that, I'd have been looking at $400, $500. So, folks, the more of these things you can do yourself, I'm telling you, there are some... you guys got my phone number. If you're ever in a pinch like that, something goes out, Heck, give me a call. I'll try to talk you through it. It wasn't that long ago that one of my buddies called me, and he was selling a house. He's another Foxhole content creator. He was putting his house on the market, and he had to swap out his water heater. And I told him how to do it, and he did it himself. And this is a guy who has never messed with plumbing ever in his freaking. He's like, "Are you sure? Are you sure that I can do?" I go, "Dude, sure as I'm sitting here, you can swap out your water heater. You do not need to call a plumber." And I told him everything to do. Disconnect the thing, turn off your water, turn off the things at the top. And I taught him how to, before he hooked the new one up, where the in and the out of the water lines go in, I said, put yourself a couple of ball valves right there on the water lines. That way, the next time the water heater goes out, you don't have to turn off the water to the whole house. The whole house can still have water. You just isolate the water heater and do your thing. Oh, dude, thank you for the hot tip. Anyway, he did it. He called me a couple days later. He was all excited. Oh, it was sort of Michael. He thanked me. He goes, "Dude, you made me a believer. I put in my own water heater." And now he's buying tools. This guy's I'm telling you. So your brother Zoe is never too busy to try to help you through a little thing like that. You get in a pinch, call your brother Zoe. I'm not afraid. I ain't got no fears. It's us against them. It's us against the plumbers. Nothing against you plumbers out there. You're great people, and I love you. All right, let's take a minute to talk about the Foxhole Squares last night. As you know, the Foxhole Squares have now been in existence for 9 weeks. 9 weeks. And like any brand new show, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There are 7 of us who are going to be there each and every week. Come hell or high water, the 7 of us will be there. But there's 4 others who are, it's a revolving door. That's how we get fresh meat every week. Last night we had 4 wonderful people join us. It was great. It was great. We had the Texan, we had Prayer Warrior Girl, we had the Batman, and we had Cab 7 Ben from over on D Live. All just stellar folks, and they were wonderful. They were absolutely wonderful. We have been fighting over there some technical difficulties, and the thing that baffles me, number one, everything baffles me. I know nothing about computers. I might be able to tell you how to rip out your water heater, but man, don't ask me why my random access memory is peaked on a 3080 that's not even 3 years old, when I don't even have 20 files saved to this computer. I don't know how to run a computer. I don't. And yeah, if there was such a thing as calling up a guy on a Sunday and having him come to your house to show you how to fix your computer, I would be the guy paying $500 to the Geek Squad to come out and do it, because I don't know anything about computers. I don't. And it's embarrassing, and I'm trying to learn. But fortunately, many of the people so closely associated with the Foxhole Squares are pretty computer savvy, especially because they're 25 years younger than me, and these people grew up with computers. So everybody has their own take on what's going wrong. I critique myself, okay? I am always seeking perfection. Seriously. I want things to be perfect. That's the kind of guy I am. That's the kind of buildings I deliver. It's a turnkey. You're never going to have a problem with this once I walk away from it. And, you know, when I walk away from a broadcast, I go back the next day and I watch it to see how well did it go. Well, the funny thing is, the first 4 or 5 weeks of the Foxhole Squares, I was amazed. I was amazed at the numbers that we were getting. We were getting in excess of 100 viewers on Foxhole alone. And that number grew. It went from 100, it went to 128. It went that one time on the Foxhole, 3-4 weeks ago, we had 156 people watching. That, to me, on a Saturday night is a successful show. Last night, I'm looking at the numbers, and it's down around 68, 74. And I'm like, man, what's going on here? What is going on? I can tell you, as a human being, I'm a very impatient person. I want it fixed. I want it fixed right now. Otherwise, GFY, baby. You know what I mean by that? GFY. I think you can read between the lines. Yeah, I'm just a man of very little patience. So if I'm in the middle of watching a show and that show begins to have technical difficulties, even if it's, I don't care if it is a Led Zeppelin tribute or something about the Beatles or the Rolling Stones or something that just really, really, really piques my interest. And by pique, I mean P-I-Q-U-E, my interest, piques. Yeah, if I start watching a show and it starts doing Alvin and the Chipmunks, man, I quickly lose interest, no matter how badly I want to see this show. So Sandra and I reconvened this morning, and I said, Sandra, I think it's the upload. I think it's the upload to Foxhole, because when I watched the playback last night, I couldn't even watch it. It pissed me off so much. I said, but what doesn't make sense to me, Sandra, is that when let's see, 9, 2 contestants, 10, 11, Sandra and myself, 12, 13, when the 13 of us are together in Zoom and we're watching it and we are executing the show from our vantage point. There is no chipmunking. The only things that we see going wrong during the recording of the show is, sometimes we'll push a wrong button, and instead of seeing the Texan, you might see Neo. It's little stuff that we can laugh off. I mean, who gives a crap about that? We very quickly correct it, and the next thing you know, the Texan's on the screen the way it should be, and big deal. Big deal. But when we go back and watch the replay and we find that it's just rife with technical difficulties. One thing we figured out today. And it's taken 9 weeks to figure it out. Our dear sister Sandra, her computer is just being taxed. And you imagine this, okay? Imagine this. You're broadcasting a show, and you've got 13 people in a Zoom call. 13. Can you imagine how much that is eating at the memory of your computer right there? Then, for more fun, you go and add an OBS program that has 64 buttons on it, right? 64 buttons across it. Each button represents a square, okay? You've got a celebrity square. Let's just take Belushi, okay? So one button is Belushi just the way he is. The next button is Belushi with an O. The next button is Belushi with an X. The following button is Belushi as the secret square. So each person has all of these buttons. She's got buttons coming out her ass. I don't know how she does it. She showed me her board once, and I about fainted. I would love to be a fly on the wall one day and watch how she's doing it behind the scenes, because it boggles my mind to think, how does somebody figure this out? And she did. She built this thing with her own 2 hands. So I'm telling you, if you see Sandra out there, you tell that girl she is kicking some ass and taking names. It is so, so impressive to see the work that she is trying to do, the magnum opus that is, I'm telling you, that is the Foxhole Squares. We were able to figure out this morning, we finally figured out this morning that we're going to split things up. We're going to let the Zoom be handled by one of our other players, a regular who has a computer that has tons of memory, it's not being used, and then he will just throw a single line back to Sandra's computer, and she won't have all of that stuff eating away at her RAM. So I think we're working it out. Those of you who have been watching the show week in and week out, it means the world to us. It really does mean the world to us that you come and hang out with us, because I'm not kidding you. And as I said to Sandra when we started the show, I said, this is going to be, it is. By the time we are done with this thing, this is going to be the single greatest show on all of the foxhole, and I believe it with all of my heart. But like any work in progress, and I know this from working on a television show myself in Hollywood for 10 years, anything can go wrong. Anything can go wrong in the middle of taping. I've seen it. I've lived it. I was there when the power went out at Entertainment Tonight. I was there when we had an earthquake right in the middle of the show. I've seen all kinds of shit go wrong with live recorded stuff. So considering the entire show is 13 people on a Zoom call and one woman's extraordinary talents on a overworked computer, my God, I'm still awfully proud of what we got, and I stick to my guns. Within 3 months, by the time we hit 3 months, that show is going to be humming on all cylinders. It will be the funniest and best show on the foxhole. You bet your sweet bippy. You bet your sweet bippy. Thank you to everybody who came and watched anyway. We'll get there. We'll get there. That's just the way it is. All right. I've got an interesting show for you this evening. I'm so glad to have you aboard. Thank you for being here. We are going to reconvene on the other side of this small video. Thanks so much for hanging out with me. I want to take one more look over at, these people over here. Yes, Erica Rommel. Don't knock yourself, Zoso. Your current skills are better than computers. Thank you, sister. I love you lots. Good to see you. Just a stellar woman right there. Really, really an awesome friend. All right, we'll be back after this. Don't go anywhere. See you on the other side.
My fellow citizens, our country is in danger, but not to be despaired of. On you depend the fortunes of America. We, the Americans of today, are ready to act worthy of ourselves, ready to do what must be done to ensure happiness and liberty for ourselves, our children, and our children's children. We are a nation under God, and I believe God intended for us to be free. The crisis we're facing today, it does require, however, our best effort and our willingness to believe in ourselves and to believe in our capacity to perform great deeds, to believe that together, with God's help, we can and will resolve the problems which now confront us. And after all, why shouldn't we believe that? We are Americans.
Don't you forget it, baby. Yeah, I'm going to stop that right there because those are the feelings that I truly have. Zoso Dude wishes to thank all of you for your generous support of this program each and every week, people. I am astounded at the love and surprise that I see from the gold pills that get wonderfully donated to the show, to the lemons, the lemon love, each and every week. I'm just astounded, and it means the world to a little old guy like me sitting in the corner of my garage. This show has, it has evolved from a guy riding his motorcycle across the country to a group of people who just kind of hang out 2-3 nights a week and talk about the weather. We talk about all kinds of things on this show, and that's what I like about it. It's a hang. This is our hang. It's not, there's no extraordinary attraction here. It's just a chance for us to just get away from it all and be with friends who are like-minded. And that's what I appreciate the most about not only the people come hang out at the show, but the same people that I'm seeing in these chats on these different channels. I see you in the other chats of the other shows that I watch. We're like a traveling family. We're like a traveling circus of like-minded people hoping to leave a little something better behind us for our children and the issue of our children, if you know what I mean. It pains me. The show I did a couple nights ago, I was really, I'll tell you, I was in a tough place mentally. I had, there's times when I lose hope. There's times when I see just so much deceit and so much corruption and so much bad news that I just wonder, are we ever going to crawl out of this muck and mire? It is, sometimes it's disheartening, and sometimes it's even too much for an insane, you know that I am an optimist, okay? I am not a pessimist. I am the most optimistic, glasses half full, I'm a happy-go-lucky buffoon looking for a place to perform. And really, I want to win. I want to win this war. You know I do. The show I did the other night is, it's another side of me that doesn't get out that often. I expressed my wondering if we'll ever really overcome what is going on right now. So I decided that tonight's show, we're going to take a peek back to the good old days, because you know me, I love nostalgia, and I love doing this. And when I look at modern discourse, when I see things like Fox News has a show called The Five, and it's 5 different people. It's four conservatives and a lefty, all in the same room, and it's the same shit every week. It's the same shit every show. They go over the news. The conservatives gang up on the one poor lefty there and the person just can't get a word in edgewise. Even whatever valid points they may have, they're completely overshadowed by the righties who just won't let them get a word in edgewise. That's not a debate. That's not a spirited discourse. That is, it's four wolves and a sheep. Back, and I mean, let's look at another recent activity. Zelensky meeting President Trump and Vice President Vance in the Oval Office, or in the White House. You know, a lot of interesting stuff has come out of that. We have since seen, you know, there are so many digital soldiers out there looking at so much stuff. It was pretty interesting to see that Zelensky was there sitting on the couch by himself, you know, outgunned 2-1 by Trump and Vance. And he's trying to make his point, and he's, you know, I'm not saying for a second that his points are valid, but what I'm saying is he's outgunned 2-1. There's no way he's going to get a word in edgewise. But the interesting thing to learn was that one of the reporters out in the circle is sitting there giving him signals, touching her chin and going like this. Like, clearly, before he even got there, they had rehearsed what it was that he was going to say, and her little, you know, symbols to him are telling him to stay on topic. Everything is just so, my God, I yearn for the days. When there used to be honest debate between people. And that's why I thought about, you know, it was a year or so ago, maybe a little longer. We took a look at the life of Charlton Heston. You guys remember that episode? A very interesting individual. And I hope to do more of that. I hope to take an individual and just dissect his life, show the highs and the lows. And I mean, that's what this show is all about. You know, for God's sake, Zoe, just get me away from the frickin' news for 2 hours. Take me someplace else. Take me on a little cruise. You and Duska, let's go out in the harbor and just talk about something other than freaking news for tonight. Okay. And I mean, it's important. It's important for our sanity, isn't it? So I had a wonderful, absolutely wonderful 2-hour phone call with my mother this evening. And Enoch says the answer is 17. I freaking love this kid. Have you guys, are you aware of who Enoch is? Enoch is a young man. I'm guessing he can't be, I don't think he's anywhere near 30. If he was, I'd be astounded. But this is a very sharp and intelligent young man who, besides running he's got like his own news column that he runs on X. Enoch, just like the you know, the one in the Bible. Except this guy hasn't run around naked for 3 years, but it still could happen. He's also the driving force behind a get-together, an annual get-together. It happens multiple times during the year, all across the country. It's called Magapalooza. And last night, one of the commercials on the Foxhole Squares was like this 60-second thing shot all over Magapalooza, and some of it was set to music, some of it was set to YMCA and all that. I looked at this thing and I said, gosh darn it, I want to go to one of these things. So I'm going to figure out how to do it. As you know, I take a motorcycle ride across the country each and every summer, and it takes me most of a month to go between 10 and 14,000 miles around the country, stopping all over the place. I'll take a southern route over and a northern route back, or I'll take a northern route over and a southern route back. I've done a figure eight. I've done just about everything. I'm trying to hit There's only one state. You see all my buttons from all my states? As you guys know, there's only one state I haven't hit yet, and damn it, I'm going to get to it. That is North Dakota. Damn it, I'm going to get to North Dakota. But I want to go to one of these Magapaloozas, damn it. And there's one coming up in July. I think it's July. It's either June or July. In Georgia, in the great state of Georgia. And, man, you know what? If I have to fly out there, I think I'm going to check this one out. In fact, Uncle Krusty, you should be checking this out. You should be checking. You're from Georgia. You should be there. You should be there. Bitch Toria, how you doing, kid? Good to see you. How's it going? All right, back to tonight's topic. So, back in the good old days, folks, when I was a kid, there was a very popular right-wing conservative. This man was a writer, a columnist, a publisher. He was an incredibly educated man. Unfortunately, he was a Yale man, but he graduated from Yale in the 50s, back before Yale had been taken over by the commies. And he actually wrote a book about Yale. The guy was a devout Catholic. He believed in God. And he was gifted at public speaking. I'm talking about a gentleman by the name of William F Buckley. Now, I'm sure many of you people know who he is. Let me see if I can find a decent picture of him here. Okay, let me open in new window. Open image in new tab. All right, let's put old Billy Boy up on the screen here. Here he is. William F Buckley. And there he is. All right. Now, this is a very different individual, okay? To say the least, if not less. This man was very different. Most people either loved him or hated him. And yes, he was a member of Skull and Bones, but I don't think he was a... Now, just hear me out before you crucify me and crucify this man along with it. Throw the baby out with the bathwater. I don't think he was of the ilk of George Bush and, those types. His thinking was far too much of a conservative. One of his most interesting public discourses was with Ayn Rand, the writer of Atlas Shrugged, and the two of them would get in these debates, and she turned to him and she said, "William, you are far too intelligent to believe in God." And that's the sad thing. That's the sad thing for her. And his response was, you're not going to tell me who to believe in. It is my beliefs in God, my very foundation of my faith, that allows me to think the way I think, which really wasn't that far misaligned from Ayn Rand. Pretty interesting. I want to share a little bit about this guy. Let me put him back on the screen for a second while I do just a wee bit of reading for you. Let me give you a little background on this guy. First of all, as you're going to see in a minute, I have pulled up a couple of classic videos, absolutely classic videos from this gentleman. But let me tell you a little bit about him, okay? Let's see. Yeah, I'm going to get right to the meat of the matter. It's almost hard to believe. And it's probably, to his credit, shows just how freaking intelligent this guy was. He's amazing. Amazing. William Frank Buckley Jr. was a conservative writer, public intellectual, political commentator, and novelist. Born in New York City, Buckley spoke Spanish as a first language before learning French and then English as a child. He served stateside in the United States Army during World War II. Following the war, he attended Yale University, where he engaged in debate and conservative political commentary. He graduated from Yale with honors in 1950. Afterwards, he worked at the Central Intelligence Agency for 2 years. In 1955, Buckley founded the National Review, a magazine that stimulated the growth and development of the conservative movement in the United States. In addition to editorials in the National Review, Buckley wrote God and Man at Yale in 1951. I think he was 26 years old at the time. And more than 50 other books on diverse topics, including writing, speaking, history, politics, and sailing. His works included a series of novels featuring fictitious CIA officer Blackford Oaks and a nationally syndicated newspaper column. In 1965, Buckley ran for mayor of New York City on the Conservative Party line, finishing third. And I'm going to interject here for just a second. Had he won in 1965, New York City would not be in the mess that it is today, because this guy had balls, okay? He would have cleaned up that city, much like, I don't know how many of you are familiar with the fact that just past the turn of last century, in the early teens, Teddy Roosevelt cleaned up New York City, turned it from a filthy, dirty, mafia-ridden city to one of the finest police forces in the whole country. Buckley was cut of the same cloth. Okay, let me get back to this. Okay, 65, Buckley ran for mayor of New York on the Conservative Party, finishing third. From 1966 to 1999, he hosted 1,429 episodes of the public affairs television show Firing Line, the longest-running public affairs show with a single host in U.S. television history. Through his work on the show, he became known for his Northeastern elite accent and his wide vocabulary. Buckley is widely considered to have been one of the most influential figures in the conservative movement in the United States, and I will further preface that by saying in the 60s and the 70s, this man was known. He was known for his ability to debate people. And the thing I loved about this guy was two things, in fact, that really, I mean, this is one of those public figures where you either love the guy or you hate the guy, okay? But what I like about this guy is he would just sit there in these heavy debates, and this guy was renowned. He was renowned for his debates. You could not, I don't care what kind of buttons you pushed, and his buttons could be pushed, but you remember the old, I don't know if it was Arid Extra Dry or if it was Right Guard, but there used to be an old television commercial that said, "Never let them see you sweat." Early 70s. Some of you might remember that. That was this man personified. You never, ever got the best of William F. Buckley. It couldn't be done. No matter what points you made, no matter what data you supplied, no matter what statements you made that might have just driven a truck over the whatever he just cited, okay? This man refused to flinch, and he would sit there lounging. He would lounge his debates. He would lounge in his chair. He would just sit back with his legs crossed, and he loved to fiddle with a pen. And, well, let me tell you, from my point of view, and just the way his mannerisms, we're gonna look at. So I can't possibly try to imitate this guy because truly, he was one in a million. But what I liked about the era, and that's why I brought this up tonight, is because nowadays there is so little respect. So little respect. Here we just got off a 4-year journey in the United States where we had a president who never even spoke to the press. Never spoke to the press. We're back to a president who will answer questions every single time he lands, every single time he returns to the White House, anytime he goes anywhere, he will gladly answer a few questions. Did you guys see somebody bump Trump in the face with a boom mic a couple days ago? Smacked him in the face with his big old... Now, I used to work in television. I used to do remote shoots, okay? So you got a cameraman and you got an audio guy and you got an audio deck and, like he's got a 12-foot boom and he's got the guy could have extended his boom, aimed it, over the shoulder of the guy standing in front of him somewhere near Trump, and he could have possibly been fiddling with his audio, getting his and not paying attention and bumped Donald in the face. The Don. You don't bump the Don in the face with a microphone. It just isn't done. And the look. You mean, talk about fucking priceless. The look that Donald Trump glared at this buffoon who hit him in the face with the microphone. Just the glare. Where was my point? The train left the station 45 minutes ago. My point, okay, so my train of thought. But no, what I was trying to say is there's so little respect for the media versus the president, the media versus anybody. When someone's in the middle of giving an answer, they haven't even finished the answer to the previous question, where someone now hollers out another question on top of it, hollering at whoever, Tom Homan, the president, the vice president, Pam Bond, whoever, Cash. They just, there is so little etiquette left in news, in public discussion. How we are so uncivilized. We're animals. The media is an animal circus. That's what it is. It's crazy. It's crazy. As a kid in the 1970s, in my teens, I looked at the newsmen on television at that time. It was guys like Tom Brokaw, and it was the end of, there were some very good newscasters back in the day, and I was so impressed by that. I wanted to be one of them. In school, for whatever reason, I always got just straight A's in speech and debate, public speaking, where for some people public speaking was difficult. For me, it was simple. I could pick up a piece of cold copy. I don't care what it is, an article I'd never read before, and I could read it to you, and you'd swear that I've read it 4,000 times. It's not that I'm so good at it. It's just that's the way I was wired. It just comes naturally to me. And speaking in front of people is one of those things that just doesn't, there are people who get so wigged out in front of an audience that they withdraw and they stumble, or they get up to a microphone and they just barely talk. And fucking hey, man, I'm here to. I want that guy in the back to hear me. So I admired the newsmen of my youth, and I wanted to be one of them. And so when I got into college, I took a bent for, what can I say, journalism, television broadcasting, and that I knew that's what I wanted to do. I never dreamed I would be on camera, but hey, it's kind of weird how things work out. My very first job, this is a wonderful story. I got to share this. So after going to school and doing an internship, and I explained this last week during Hollywood War Stories, I got a job on a television show where I worked for 10 years. When I left Hollywood and I moved up here to Oregon, a friend of a friend's friend was the number 2 ranking, I don't know, person down at the local station here in Medford, Oregon, where I live. My buddy said, look, this is my aunt. Call her. You know, at the very least, you'll get an interview. So I showed up, and the woman very quickly sized me up and down and said, boy, you've got a wonderful speaking voice. Ever thought of being a reporter? I kind of chuckled, and she said, what I'm going to do is I'm going to send you out today with one of our field reporters, and I want the field reporter to write and do her own story, and that's going to air tonight, but I want you to do the same thing. I want you to write the story as from your perspective, using your words, and then you record your own stand-ups and come back here and edit it. So I did that. I spent the day with this very nice girl who was a local reporter. I'd seen her on the news many times. I get back to the studio that night. It's about 4:30, 4 o'clock in the afternoon. And we're back there, and we're getting ready to go in the edit bays. And out of nowhere, I hear this guy, and I hear him talking, and he's speaking pretty loudly, so I could, he goes, get him out here. And it didn't take too long to realize he was talking about me. This is the owner of the station. I walk out the door, and he looks, this guy, again, he kind of sizes me up, and he goes, you ever been on camera in studio? And I said, well, not really, sir. I said, I always worked behind the scenes in Hollywood. He goes, get him a suit jacket. The next thing you know, I'm doing a screen test. I'm doing a screen test at the local news station. And 15 minutes into it, this guy gave me the job as the weekend news anchor. Gave it to me right there on the spot. So for 2 weekends, I read the news like a regular news anchor. And this is so funny to me that, it only paid, don't laugh now. Don't laugh. This is 1989. It paid $4.50 an hour. And although I enjoyed it, and although because it was on Saturdays and Sundays, it didn't conflict with my Monday through Friday job, I was already making $12 an hour pulling nails out of boards as a grunt. I entered as a complete grunt in construction. And I told him this. I said, look, I really enjoyed this opportunity. I can't tell you how much I thank you for it. And it's nice to get the accolades and stuff in my local, I've had my friends are telling me, friends from church are saying, dude, I saw you on TV, But after 2 weeks, I told him I didn't want the job. He goes, what do you mean? The guy was astounded that I didn't want the job. I said, well, honestly, man, you're paying me $4.50 an hour. If I'm going to spend time doing something, it needs to change my life. And I'm making $12 pulling nails out of boards. I'm really going to concentrate on my construction career. That's what I need to do. I'm trying to raise a family. I got a baby on the way. Thank you, but no thank you. And they called me 2 months later and offered me a job as the director of the news. I'll have you know, we can pay more money. This is a different position than a news anchor. We'll pay you more money. Oh, all right. So I went down on Monday night and Tuesday night, and I observed the 5:30 and the 11 p.m. news, And I watched the way the guy directed, you know. And when it was my turn, I did Wednesday night, Thursday night, Friday night, and I did the 5:30 and the 11:30 news, or the 5:30 and 11 o'clock news. And it was like, I mean, it just rolled out of me. It was like water off a duck's back. It just flowed. Something felt comfortable. How could I not be comfortable with it? I did 10 years in freaking Hollywood. And this is a teeny tiny little station with there wasn't like some great big conglomerate. So we get all done, and he says, you're really good at this. And I said, well, thank you. I appreciate that. I said, how much are we talking? You said that this pays more money than being a news anchor. Yep, son, I'm happy to tell you we can give you $6.50 an hour for directing the news. I'm sorry, buddy. I can't do that. So, again, the man was very discouraged. This is the owner of the station. He really was championing me. He wanted me to work there. And I was really humbled. It was a humbling experience for me. But I just knew it wasn't going to be, that's not what I was destined to be. And I'll tell you this, on the flip side, I threw my career and my degree in the toilet, and I dove headlong into construction. And inside of a year, I was running the biggest jobs for my boss at the time. And I went on to bigger company and bigger company and bigger. And I just never looked back, When this crazy gig came along, it was like going home again. And I really enjoy this. And even more, like the little gig on the weekend, that being the host of the Foxhole Squares is an amazing kick in the pants for me. I freaking love it. I love doing it. I really do. But let's get back to our man, okay? So, I don't even know how I got off on that tangent, what led me that way. But back in these days, two people could sit down and agree to disagree with one another. And they didn't step on each other. They allowed the previous person to make their point. One of the most famous debates by William F. Buckley was actually over in Britain at Cambridge. I'm going to show us an excerpt from this. In fact, I've got 4 time codes written down here that I want to share with you. This was some extraordinary times in the world, okay? This was the rise, this is 1964 or 1965. So think about the world in those days, okay? The Vietnam War had just started. We had just entered Vietnam, all right? President Kennedy had just been shot. You had the whole Malcolm X coming to his prominence. You had, of course, he hadn't been shot yet, but I have a dream this day. I mean, the civil rights movement was very strong, very, very strong in the early mid-1960s, 64, 65. And William F. Buckley went to Cambridge for a debate. And let's see, 14 minutes on the button. Okay. At 14 minutes on the button, they introduce Buckley's other debater. Okay, right there. I'm going to show you this. I think his name is James Baldwin. Very eloquent and very, I don't know how else to say. I don't mean anything. I don't mean to be detrimental in any way. The man was a bit animated, dramatic. Nowhere near the drama queen that I am, but, he could have delivered this speech with far less acting. Nonetheless, he got an extraordinary applause when he got started, and we're going to watch a couple minutes of this, and then I'm going to show you the retort by William F Buckley. So it's 1965. The debate is, how has the American dream affected the American Negro? And yes, back in those days, they still used the word Negro. Let's watch a couple of minutes of this. This is the opposing man. This is James Baldwin making his points before William F Buckley gets to say his side. And let's just take a look at this. He's the rousing applause. Rousing applause. They were really, really on this man's side, okay?
Now we have Mr. James Baldwin, the star of the evening, who has been sitting, listening attentively, getting a wonderful reception here in the Cambridge Union. Tremendous enthusiasm from all sides of the House for Mr. Baldwin, who has been listening to the arguments. Now will bring the voice of actual experience to the debate.
Good evening. I find myself, not for the first time, in the position of a kind of Jeremiah. For example, I don't disagree with Mr. Burford that the inequality suffered by the American Negro population of the United States has hindered the American dream. Indeed, it has. I quarrel with some other things he has to say. The other, deeper element of a certain awkwardness I feel has to do with one's point of view. I have to put it that way. One's sense, one's system of reality. It would seem to me that the proposition before the House, when I put it that way, is the American dream at the expense of the American Negro, or the American dream is at the expense of the American Negro, is a question hideously loaded, and that one's response to that question, or one's reaction to that question, has to depend on an effect on where you find yourself in the world, what your sense of reality is, what your system of reality is. That is, it depends on assumptions which we hold so deeply as to be scarcely aware of them. A white South African, or a Mississippi sharecropper, or a Mississippi sheriff, or a Frenchman driven out of Algeria, all have, at bottom, a system of reality which compels them to, for example, in the case of the French exile from Algeria, to defend French reasons for having ruled Algeria. The Mississippi or the Alabama sheriff, who really does believe when he's facing a Negro boy or girl that this woman, this man, this child must be insane to attack the system to which he owes his entire identity. Of course, for such a person.
So, I mean, we're not going to decipher this entire debate. That's not the point here. This is about William F. Buckley. So you can see that this man he's eloquent. He's clearly educated. But you can also see he's a bit animated. He looks with those great big eyes at you. And what is amazing is, I mean, I've watched this. Haven't watched it recently, but I have watched this in its entirety. And I'm going to fast forward to 3808, which is where... This is where he finishes his speech, and the entire place, okay? Because this is a prominent black man at the heart of the civil rights movement, at the very crux of it, being accepted in Great Britain at Cambridge for this classic debate. He gets a standing ovation, and I'll show it to you. And it's very impressive. Clearly, they were all on his side. They really were. Let's just see how well he does.
Tremendously moving moment now. The whole of the Union standing and applauding this magnificent speech of James Baldwin. Never seen this happen before. in the Union in all the years that I have known it. Baldwin is smiling, obviously delighted by his reception.
How do you like this? I just have to interject. Sorry, here I am being so again. How do you like this stuff shirt British guy, reporter, for some local London BBC? In all the years I've been here, I've never seen such a. I was laughing at. In all my years, I wish Mix Bix was here. He would make fun of this guy.
Tremendously moved by it.
Anyway, Buckley gets his turn to respond, and let's go to that. And the reason I bring this up is I want you to look at his mannerisms. I want you to look at how Buckley he controls himself. Here he's now speaking to people who are clearly in favor of the opposing guy. Okay, they gave the guy a standing ovation. You know, they kissed his ass. You know, this royal man, and now we've got.
Now we have Mr. William Buckley, who will need all his skill to establish ascendancy over his audience, which has clearly been so deeply moved.
Thank you, Mr.
by the
President.
eloquence and
Baldwin.
personal experience of the preceding speaker.
Look how composed
Peacock,
he is.
Griffith, gentlemen. It seems to me that of all the indictments Mr. Baldwin has made of America, here tonight and in his copious literature of protest, the one that is most striking involves, in effect, the refusal of the American community to treat him other than as a Negro. The American community has refused to do this. The American community, almost everywhere he goes, treats him with the kind of unction, the kind of satisfaction at posturing carefully for his flagellations of our civilization, that indeed, quite properly, commands the contempt which he so eloquently showers upon us. It is impossible, in my judgment, to deal with the indictment of Mr. Baldwin unless one is prepared to deal with him as a white man. Unless one is prepared to say to him, the fact that your skin is black is utterly irrelevant to the arguments that you raise. The fact that you sit here, as is your rhetorical device, and lay the entire weight of the Negro ordeal on your own shoulders is irrelevant to the argument that we are here to discuss.
Okay, I gotta cut it again. Do you just see this guy, how he holds himself, how he puts his hands behind his back, and several times during the show, he'll take his hands and he'll purposely leave his pinkies out. He'll stick his hands in his front pockets of his jacket, and he loved to take one finger and very slowly point at you as he's making his point. You'll see that in the next couple of. I've got a classic one to show you, absolutely classic. I got to keep an eye on the time here because this is important. I want you guys to see this. I love this man. I love this. I like the fact that he is so. I mean, he's also clearly. Come on, Yale. He's a freaking stuff shirt. He thinks his shit don't stink. And you know what? Maybe it didn't. Maybe it didn't. I am going to show you his closing argument and the applause that he received, which is nothing like they gave the other guy. But I do want you to see this. 56-19. 56-19. 56-45. That's about as close as I'm going to get. close I'm going to get right there.
The faith of our fathers.
All right,
The faith, indeed, of your fathers. This is what must animate whatever meliorism must come, because if it does finally come to a confrontation, a radical confrontation between giving up what we understand to be the best features of the American way of life, which at that level is indistinguishable, so far as I can see, from the European way of life, then we will fight the issue. And we will fight the issue not only in the Cambridge Union, but we will fight it as you were once recently called to do, on beaches and on hills and on mountains and on landing grounds. And we will be convinced that just as you won the war against a particular threat to civilization, you were nevertheless waging a war in favor of and for the benefit of Germans, your own enemies, just as we are convinced that if it should ever come to that kind of a confrontation, our own determination to win the struggle will be a determination to wage a war not only for whites, but also for Negroes.
So what I particularly like about this debate is that if you'd seen this entire thing, the point that Buckley made was that the color of a man's skin should be irrelevant, whereas his counterpart spent his entire time saying, because my skin is black, I'm being held down and all this thing. And Buckley was trying to say, why do we have to keep using the word Negro? Why can't we just treat him as a man? As a man. And I'm sorry, I agree with that. I look at my friends, my fellow friends of different skin colors, and they're men to me. That's who they are. They're men. They're not a black man. They're not an Asian man. They're men. They're my friends. That's who they are. Mexicans, why do we have to pigeonhole? What is the need to pigeonhole somebody? I don't get it. I never have. I never will. From the time I was a little kid, one of the things my mom told me on the phone today is that there was never a prejudiced bone in my body. I played with any kid, any color, any there was a kid down the road from me when I was 4 and 5 years old who had this horrible, horrible speech impediment. And my mom said that I was the only kid in the whole neighborhood that would stop and listen to this poor kid who was trying to speak, and somehow I could decipher what the kid was trying to say. And even though speech impediment, I could understand the kid. And my mom said, Albert, you've always been compassionate, and you've always cared about the underdog. You've always been like that. And I thanked her, because it's hard for me to always remember that. But I would like to be remembered in that way. That's got nothing to do with what we're talking about now. Let's get back to Buckley. One of the most famous debates ever was between William F. Buckley. This is a great one. Now, when I was at the height of being black-pilled, I'm talking about like 2004 to 2018, okay? There was a time when I did not believe in this country. I did not believe in government. I thought everybody was against me, and it was me against the world. And it was really hard for me to give that up. I started looking at all sides. I considered myself to be a devout libertarian. That's what I really believed that I was, just a centrist, right down, because there was bits and pieces of both sides that made perfect sense to me. One of the guys that I followed is the one that is in this debate against William F. Buckley, and I'm sure you know the name, and I'm sure a lot of you are probably not thrilled with who he is, but I'll share it anyway. It is a gentleman by the name of Noam Chomsky. Noam Chomsky This man was I guess he's left of center. You'd have to say that. A progressive, but a very different progressive than today's progressives. Nowhere in this, not even in the same zip code. But he had different thoughts, and he makes very good points during this debate. There was a series of debates, a series of spirited debates between William F. Buckley and Noam Chomsky. I think, I can't say this for sure, but I think that the two men absolutely loathed each other. That's what I truly believe this. But they had the respect for one another to sit down like men and discuss ideas. And they didn't cut each other off. They didn't interrupt. They let a man finish his point, and then they would eloquently bring up their side. And if they absolutely positively had to interrupt, they would, in a very humane way, they would say, "Excuse me, but may I just make the point that..." We're going to watch a couple minutes of this because I just wish that we had this level of civility today in our media and in our public discussions, because the world would be a very different place if people still respected one another as human beings. I mean, respect it's everything, isn't it? Respecting, whether you are with, whether you're with an ideologue who's just 180 degrees from where you stand, being able to have a conversation with him is how you exchange ideas. And raising your voice, hollering, screaming, cutting people off, which is where we are today, doesn't do anybody any good. No side learns. No side gets their points across. It's sad. We've been bridled down. Just enjoy a couple of minutes of this. We'll watch 5-7 minutes of this because it's really interesting how these two men speak with each other civilly, even though they are 180 degrees opposed to one another. They sit down and have a very civilized discussion. And I want you to see just how composed William F. Buckley remains when Noam Chomsky pushes his buttons, okay? He really does. They start bringing up the Vietnam War. You'll see. Let's check this out. Yes.
We are responsible for what we do, but hardly responsible for what other people do, except insofar as we are in a position to influence them.
That's right.
For instance, if there is a mass starvation in Biafra, even though we did not cause it, there is a sense in which we are responsible if we don't do something to attempt to alleviate it. Right. Now, by the same token, if we are prepared to agree that it is not always easy to taxonomize military action into that which is terroristic and that which is purely a military operation, we are left with doubts, for instance, about the bombing of Germany in 1942, 43, 44. Mm-hmm. You might contend that this was terroristic and unnecessary, and you might be right, although you're not a military expert, neither am I. But I think
there's a point to that.
Yeah, but I do judge that even if we all agree that what we did in Dresden was inexcusable, as a moral question, it's got to be understood in context of what was it that brought us to Dresden in the first instance.
Absolutely.
And what brought us to South Vietnam in the first instance, in my judgment, was clearly an uninterested, or I should say disinterested, concern for the stability and possibilities of a region of the world. What
period do you feel that we had this disinterested relationship to Vietnam?
Right now.
No, at what period did we have it? Did it begin? Let's say 1951, for example, when the State Department bulletin points out that we must help the French reconquer their former colony, and we must eradicate all Vietnamese resistance down to its last roots in order
Well,
to reestablish
I
the French in
personally
power?
wish,
Was that
yeah,
disinterested?
to increase my vulnerability, I wish we had helped the French.
We did. We supported
But not
them.
sufficiently. Not sufficiently.
Well, but
there's no point in helping somebody insufficiently.
It was hardly disinterested when we attempted, as you know, with tremendous support, in fact, to reinstate French imperialism in South Vietnam.
Now, it was disinterested in this sense, and I think this is an important distinction which you do touch on in your book. It's a disinterested act if my attempt to help, or your attempt to help a particular nation, is in order to spare you the possibility of a great ordeal in the future, which will harm you, your family, your children, your republic.
And in that sense, Nazi Germany was also disinterested.
Yeah,
So after all, Nazi Germany was conquering Eastern Europe only in order to advance the values of Christian spiritual civilization and to restore the Slavs to their rightful home and so on and so forth. Totally disinterested.
Look, I follow you. But if you want me to pursue that digression, I will.
Okay.
But let's suspend it for a moment. I'm distinguishing that kind of disinterestedness between the kind of...
But that's not a kind of disinterestedness. You see, that's something which includes as a special case every case of military aggression and colonialism in history. It's all disinterested in your sense.
Well, all right, let me simply rest my case by saying that there is an observable distinction by intelligent men between a country that reaches out and interferes with the affairs of another country because it has reason to believe that a failure to do so will result in universal misery, and that country which reaches out and interferes with another country because it wants to establish Coca-Cola plants there and chase national banks and whatever and exploit it. Now, that is an observable
It's a conceptual
distinction.
well, let's distinguish between a conceptual distinction and a factual
I'm prepared
distinction.
to do that.
All right, it is a conceptual distinction, but in actual fact, the history of colonialism shows that these two motivations can coincide. That is, practically every, I mean, there are exceptions, you know, probably the Belgians and the Congo are an exception, but by and large, the major imperialist ventures have been in the economic, in the material interest or in the perceived material interest.
I'm not interested in the mathematics, but I'm interested.
Let me finish.
You have already conceded that it's not merely a conceptual difference.
I say it is.
There are exceptions.
There are a few exceptions.
All right.
Like say
Okay.
but
All right, let's talk about the exceptions then.
Well, no, but the exceptions are at the difference. No, wait a minute. The exceptions. I mentioned, for example, the Belgians and the Congo. There, they didn't even pretend to have a civilizing mission. There, it was pure material self-interest. These are the exceptions. There are, as far as I know, no exceptions on the other side. There are. I mean, maybe I've left out a case of history, but as I see the history of colonialism, the great mass of cases are cases where a powerful country was working in its perceived material self-interest and was covering what it was doing to itself and to the world with very pleasant phrases about preserving Christian values or helping the poor benighted natives or one thing or another. Now, there are a few exceptions where there was pure predatory imperialism. No, not even any pretense of doing anything, but these are quite rare.
And
we're in the mainstream of imperialism.
The
pure predatory imperialism?
Sure, the history of the Roman Empire.
Well, let's take one. I mean, since the Industrial Revolution.
Since the Industrial Revolution. Well,
you know,
if you say that people have refined the art of apologetics, I don't deny it. But it is also true, and I think manifestly true, that there have been interferences with the affairs of other nations whose purposes were, in my judgment, manifestly benign.
For example?
Or for instance, the Truman Doctrine.
Oh, I don't think that was manifestly benign at all. That was an attempt to
the Greeks
develop an
benign. I think the
Greek situation was benign, not at all. We were trying
I say the Greeks' testimony is more interesting to me than yours.
Which Greek testimony?
The
testimony of the thousands of people who were thrown into jail and,
I grant not the testimony of the Greek communists who were beaten.
Or the Greek peasants who were...
there again, is it a conceptual difference that between the person who desires a life under some kind of freedom and one who desires life under some kind of... under communism?
No, because there's no such opposition in Greece. There was a distinction between a very repressive regime, which we instituted in 1946, and another regime, I don't know what it would have been, that would have grown out of a victory of the so-called communists. Now, if you see, what we did had nothing to do with freedom. What we instituted was
This is absolute historical romancing, I would say,
I don't
because
believe,
the number of people who were slaughtered in Greece, first by the communist insurgency, then by the Nazis, then again by the communists, add up to an enormous
communist insurgency before the Nazis? Which one?
Not insurgency, conquest.
Communist conquest before the Nazis in
communist
Greece?
insurgency.
Prior to the Nazis in Greece?
Yes, the Civil War of the early 40s.
My point is that
the Greeks...
your history is quite confused.
No, that's not bad at all.
There was no communist insurgency prior to the Nazis. There were communist resistance bands
Well,
that fought against the
this is a
Nazis.
matter of nomenclature. The point is that the 40-year-old or the 45-year-old Greek has fought 3 times in certain ventures, in one of which they acknowledge that we bailed
Who is they?
out.
Who is they? The rulers
Well,
of Greece
yeah.
acknowledge that.
No, also the people.
Oh, I'm quite unaware of that. I'm quite unaware that the people of Greece have
Well,
spoken on this issue.
All right. We've enjoyed enough of this. This turns into, actually, this is part 1 of 2 parts, and it turns into a rather spirited debate between these 2 gentlemen, and this was the first of several debates. And as I say, I just have the funniest feeling that in real life these 2 men, although they respected one another and one another's accomplishments, I really don't think they liked each other. I don't think they liked each other very much at all. But the fact is, they could sit down in a couple of easy chairs and allow each other to make their points, whether they agreed with them or not. It's clear that in this that Chomsky isn't buying anything of what Buckley is hawking, and at the same time, Buckley is quick to point out that some of Noam Chomsky's ideas are, and then let's just say they're all enveloping. He looks at the big picture instead of slices of reality, because I mean this is really interesting to me. I love old stuff like this. I just love the fact that there used to be civility. There used to be a civilized way to hold public discourse that has vanished, and it's not doing us any favors. It's really not. It's sad how much we have digressed as a nation. You know, I mean, when this debate took place, this is a mere 20 years after the Second World War. Right now, we are sitting 20 years after 2001. So it's still fresh in our minds, just like that war was still fresh in their minds. I don't know why I turned back to this, but I always admired the fact that Buckley could hold his own, debating just about anybody, and he never raised his voice. You never, even if you knew for a fact that you were getting under his skin and that he was just crawling on the inside, you would never know it. You would absolutely never know it. As there was a point there that he made, and where he winked at him. He goes, "Oh, if you would like to discuss that, I'm certain that we could do that." And he winks. I just love the way the guy carried himself. If you're ever bored one night and you want to refresh yourself on some really interesting current American history, go back and watch some of William F. Buckley's debates. It doesn't matter really who he was debating. The man was class. He was a class act. Whether you admire him or don't admire him, I think he's an interesting fellow. And he came from a time in America when going to Yale wasn't considered a bad thing. It was considered a good thing. Well, all right, we've burned up another Sunday night. Before we get out of here, I want to take a second to ask us to pray for a number of people. I don't think that the storms and such are finished with whatever they're going to do down there in the South and in the heartland. I was so happy last night when our contestant Victoria Lee, who is a dear friend of the Mystery Ship, she got on and she said, "Man, you wouldn't believe the way the storm tore through Missouri, high winds and rain and winds." And then our friend Miss 320 was saying that the winds in Oklahoma were just 60, 70 mile an hour. So, folks, there's some really crazy, crazy weather going on. I would like to ask us to please pray for all of our friends down there in the South who are experiencing this crazy, crazy weather. Val went out and got himself a generator and make sure his mom's place stays up and running. And man, oh man, just keep these people in your prayers, would you? That God spares them any kind of insanity. It's so tough. It can be so tough. Well, our dear sister Laura Dora. Boy, this is tough. So Laura Dora, a couple of weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, tripped over her dog and broke her leg. Broke her leg. So here she is, hobbling around with a broken leg. And yesterday, Laura Dora's mother, who is 95, fell and broke her hip. So Laura Dora's hobbling around with a leg in a cast, and she spends the whole day in the hospital with her mother with a broken hip. I just pray for Laura Dora and her family, that her mom gets excellent care, that the doctors are, their own hands are guided by Christ himself, that God just looks in on these couple of people. God bless them both. Please keep Laura Dora and her mother in your prayers if you would. Our sister Maddie's mom has asked for prayers. Please, please keep Maddie's mom in your prayers. You know, it's not that often that a buddy of mine reaches out for help, but my buddy Uncle Krusty reached out and said, dude, I'm at a freaking crossroads in my life, man. I need prayers. Would you guys pray for me? And I said, you bet we will. So he didn't quite elaborate what exactly is causing the malady, but I know that if a man is reaching for prayers and asking people to pray for him, there must be a decent circumstance behind it. So do me a favor, keep our dear brother Uncle Krusty in your prayers, that whatever needs to transpire in his life, it goes his way, that things mellow out and find an evenness in his life. Another dear brother of ours, a guy that we will never stop praying for, is my brother Gary Flessner. And I would like to ask us to please pray for Gary. I wish that Gary rebuild his strength. It starts on the inside, and it starts in believing in yourself. I know that he believes in himself, but taking that next step, the internal fortitude that you must muster up to just say, okay, the only person I got to count on right now is me. It's me against the world. And he's just that sort of individual. I just pray that Gary surmounts whatever is being thrown at him. And I know that he's in a tough situation right now. Please keep our dear brother Gary in your prayers, if you would. Additionally, Leah Worth and her mother, both of these wonderful ladies, are suffering from their own unique challenges, and yet Leah continues to try to take care of her mother each and every day. My hat goes off to this amazing lady, someone I've got a tremendous amount of respect for. Please keep Leah and her mother in your prayers. And last but not least, Dave. Our brother Dave and Cherie Maddox back there in Georgia, two of the nicest patriots you'll ever meet in your life. Dave's been battling cancer. He was winning for a long time, and Cherie recently reached out and said, so we need prayers again. The cancer is back. So I just pray that God wraps his loving arms around those two and blesses them top to bottom. Please keep Dave and Cherie Maddox in your prayers. I do want to get you excited about something. As I told you, Sandra and I, with our little Foxhole Squares venture and the wonderful people associated with that, we've got our challenges set out for us this week. We're going to be adding some some RAM cards to Sandra's computer and exploring a couple of different avenues so that the show runs more smoothly next week. We're pretty sure at this point we have narrowed it down. We know what the problem is. The last few weeks we were saying, man, it could be Restream, it could be this, it could be Zoom. At this point, we've narrowed it down. We know that the problem lies inside of her computer. So thank goodness there are wonderful people out there like Tennessee Homesteader and Matt 1776 coming to the rescue of our show. So I want to really get you next Saturday night on the Foxhole Squares. It's going to be tremendous. We're going to have, quite frankly, we're going to have Craig Mason. We're going to have Joey Mormon. And we're going to have Brad CGC from the Where We Go, One We Go All channel. This is going to be one of the most star-studded, and I think it's going to be one of the highest attendances we've seen in a while. And we're going to have all our ducks in a row on our end. So hope to see you next Saturday night at the Foxhole Squares on the Coffee Talk with Sandra channel right here on the Foxhole. I want to thank all the beautiful people who came here tonight and donated gold pills and spread the love and the good cheer. And it means the world to me that you guys would come by and hang out. Let me shout out some names. Gold pill-wise, Sean Joe, thank you so much, my friend. Safety Net, thanks, darling. That is awesome. Due diligence. Have a grog on me, and I will. Actually, there was no grog tonight, just plain soda. Plain old soda. Raynoth, thank you kindly for the cookie. I'm going to be releasing the Scratchin' over there. The Scratchin' is hereby released over there at Build Foxhole. Thank you so much, you wonderful people. Over here in Lemonland, well, they've done some nice little donating tonight. Yes, they have. I want to thank so much. Wow, this is great. Classic movies. What is the name of this channel? I've got to get this right. Classic Movie Theater. Classic Movie Theater. Thank you for joining us tonight. And thank you for your donations to the show. It means an awful lot. Peggy Dancer, a big donator tonight, as was Lynn Winters, Bad Zoot, Willie Fixit, Jayla17, and TL Spud. Thank all of you wonderful people for your support of this program. It does mean a heck of a lot to an old buzzard like me. Let me get into this treasure chest and put a little something inside of there so that when I open it up, there will be a prize worth winning. And here it is. Here it is. I am hereby distributing the rewards. 23 seconds out. I see that gold pills are being won over there. That's a wonderful thing. Maddie's Mon, Help Me Chaz, Willie Fixit, Prairie Fire, Dixie Doodle, TSC 90. Congratulations, all you guys, for picking up some extra gold bills from the scratching. I even got one myself. How about them apples? Zoom got some. Tone Loke, good to see you. Mrs. JT. Due diligence. Willie Fixit, man. He triple dipped the gold bills. How about that? All right, look at this. Spudley on top of the heap tonight. Willie Fixit right behind him. Man, Willie made out like a bandit tonight. Bad Zoot is in there. Jayla17, Lynn Winters. Thank you all. Thank you all for your continued support of this program. It means the world to me. And I look forward to seeing you guys again this coming Wednesday night. Wednesday night, the mystery ship will set sail again. Thank you so much for being here. It has been my pleasure to hang out with you. I'm going to shuffle off to Buffalo. That's what I'm going to do. Shuffle off to Buffalo. I got some things to do inside. I'm going to go see if we got any kind of hot water yet. Hopefully we do. Thank you to everybody hanging out over at Rumble. All you people at YouTube, wonderful to see you. Over at Twitch, there was a brand new Twitcher in the house tonight. Let's see, Yawning Baroni and Elise. And Elise, welcome. welcome. Good to have you guys hanging out over there at Twitch. Thanks for being there. All right. All you pilled sailors, we will see you. We will see you on the next mystery ship. Be good, my friends. We will catch you. We will catch you around the bend. I promise we will. Be good, my friends. Have a wonderful week ahead. Catch you on Wednesday night. Wednesday night.